Is Victor Wembanyama actually better than Chet Holmgren? The Brandon Miller vs. Scoot Henderson argument is all but dead. Or is it? Is there another player in the 2023 NBA draft that snuck under the radar and outperformed any of these guys to make it into the top rookies of the season so far? Hey, what's happening, everyone? This is Swish Culture. This season's Rookie of the Year race is going to be one for the ages. Before the season started, most people expected Victor Wembanyama to run away with the title. 16 games in, and it's looking like Chet Holmgren might be next up. Who knows what will happen in another 66 games? There are a lot of factors impacting how these rookies perform. The Spurs aren't playing Wembanyama with a real point guard. Chet Holmgren isn't the first option on his team, although he's playing at a level where he could be. Brandon Miller's potential might be subverted by the Hornets since they removed him from the starting lineup, which could cut into his minutes alongside LaMelo Ball, and Scoot Henderson was out for most of the start of the season, although when he started, he looked like he was still a G League player. Before I get into the rankings and comparisons, note that the team record isn't a consideration for who to give Rookie of the Year, but whether the rookie is playing with a good or bad team can have a huge impact on what your stats look like. While stats can give you about 80% of what a player is capable of doing, it can't quite get you the remaining 20% that you can only see when you study each situation separately. This video will give you some insight into the top 5 players in the 2023 draft class, as well as where they rank and the shot each one has at winning Rookie of the Year. Now, some years ago, I did the rookie rankings on a continuous basis, but this is a bit different as far as the approach to ranking the players, as well as the fact that I won't be doing this every single week. But if you are looking forward to seeing more of these videos, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to Swish Culture. Now, without further delay, let's get to it. The first shout out goes to the honorable mentions. Marcus Sasser of the Detroit Pistons is a sniper out of Texas. Apparently being able to shoot is some sort of a requirement if you're from the red state. Sasser is a 6'2", 23-year-old combo guard who's averaging 8 points per game for the Pistons. The fact that he's already 23 and only 6'2" works against him. He's still shooting 38.5% from 3 and dishes 2.5 assists in 18 minutes. So as long as he can keep that going, he'll be able to find a role on a team. Jaime Jaquez as well is another player that can carve out a role with the Heat. When I say he fits in with Heat culture, I shouldn't have to explain what that means. He does all the right things, makes winning plays, and checks all the right boxes. He's leading all rookies in steals per game and is shooting at 40% from range. At just 22 years old, the 6'6" forward out of UCLA is a great fit in Miami and will likely stick around for a while. And lastly, Jordan Hawkins of the New Orleans Pelicans. Hawkins is a 6'4", 21-year-old shooting guard out of UConn, averaging 13 points, 4 rebounds, and 2 assists, shooting league average from distance, recently helping the Huskies win the NCAA championship. He's dropped 25 points a couple of times this year and provides a good scoring threat for the Pels. Rank these guys how you want, but depending on how the rest of the season goes, we could see Hawkins make a case later on this season. But let's get right into the top 5. What's 7'1" with a 7'8" wingspan? The answer to that is your 5th ranked rookie and athletic freak, Dereck Lively II, a center out of Duke who now plays for the Dallas Mavericks in their starting lineup alongside Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. Despite all the talent in their backcourt, the Mavericks finished poorly last season, and that was at least in part due to not having a reliable rim protector or presence in the front court. Lively plugs right into the Mavs lineup, replacing 11-year veteran Dwight Powell and giving the Mavs a boost in every single category. Lively comes with great defensive instincts, and with his length, he intercepts passing lanes and inhales rebounds at an astronomical rate. On offense, he sets massive screens and has great hands with a catch radius wider than Lizzo's ass. Playing alongside premier guards in Luka and Kyrie makes him one of the toughest lob threats to guard in the paint. Pair that with a field goal efficiency of 69.5%, Lively II is currently averaging 8 points, 8 rebounds, 1 assist, and 1 block in 24 minutes. In an offense that features its backcourt players, he might not score a lot, but at just 19 years old, expect his rebounding and defense to only continue to get better. Up next at fourth is a player with huge upside. When the Charlotte Hornets drafted him second overall, it caused a lot of controversy within the Hive, with many fans thinking that they should have gone with Sterling Henderson instead. Huh? Oh, you guys don't know him by that name. Scoot Henderson, who was selected third overall by the Trailblazers, hasn't played much this season, and so the Hive quickly jumped on the bandwagon to heap the praises on fourth-ranked Brandon Miller. But wait a second. If Miller being selected second was a good thing, how is he being ranked fourth? Well, for a couple of reasons that will be fleshed out later in the video. What I will say, however, is that for teams that already have a star player, the quicker their rookie figures out their role on the team, the better their chances of being the Rookie of the Year. Before being drafted by the Hornets, Miller controversially brought a weapon to what would later be a crime scene, committed by someone who used that same weapon in the death of a young woman. So far, however, he seemingly managed to continue playing despite the investigation of this issue remaining ongoing. Brandon Miller is an explosive 21-year-old 6'7" small forward that shoots at 3 levels: in the paint, inside the perimeter, outside the perimeter, fully equipped to reload the shooter with the clip. He's averaging 14 points per game, 4 rebounds, and 2 assists in 30 minutes, something that would have continued to improve as he visibly got better every game. Unfortunately, his run in the starting lineup is done for the foreseeable future, as Terry Rozier returned and both he and Gordon Hayward have gotten the nod for the starting role. He will likely get some reprieve, however, as LaMelo is out with an ankle sprain, moving Miller to the starting lineup as the 2 guard and Rozier moving to the point guard position. This team is still trying to figure out its identity, and so they haven't yet decided if they're a lottery team or a playoff team. If they're not in contention by the trade deadline, they might move on from one or both of Rozier and Hayward and tank for a good pick in the 2024 NBA draft. This may help Brandon Miller's Rookie of the Year bid if his performance keeps up till then. Now here is where it gets interesting. Ausar Thompson, a 6'5" small forward, was drafted 5th overall by the Detroit Pistons after his twin brother Amen was already taken off the board by the Rockets at 4th. So, interestingly, he's outplaying his brother who was taken 1 spot ahead of him. The 3rd-ranked rookie isn't exactly a scorer, nor does he shoot the 3 ball particularly well, coming in at a staggeringly low 14%. But with those areas being his weaknesses, he absolutely excels in every other statistical category. What the team drafted him for is this: lockdown defense and hustle. He has a relentless motor that just does not stop. In this play, SGA reaches into his bag, only for Ausar to slap the juice out of his lunchbox. No Thunder player will be getting any penetration around here with 15 or less on the shot clock, as that would clearly be an offensive foul. Ausar is an absolute menace, has great footwork, foot speed, plays the game at a high pace, and loves to run the break. He's currently averaging a double-double with 11 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, and 2 blocks while averaging 45% from the field. The fact that he's able to score 11 without a 3 ball as an undersized forward is a pretty big deal. He's a foundational piece of the Pistons rotation and in a few years could anchor this team in a similar manner as Draymond did for the Warriors. He understands his role with the team and literally has no one else to compete with for his spot. If his 3 ball starts falling, he could easily climb even further up this list. But that remains to be seen. Now this part is a bit tricky. At the top, I have 2 players that are marvels in their own right. On the one hand, Chet Holmgren was drafted 2nd overall back in 2022 behind Paolo Banchero, but was out with injury for the entire year. With guard skills, aka handling, shooting, and elite size, a long and wiry 7'1" player with high IQ, so he passes and rebounds at an elite level as well, and doing this with a very high field goal percent, clocked at 56% from the field, while giving you a presence in the paint. It's hard to ignore the prodigy that is Chet. He's a player that can get anywhere on the floor and play true positionless basketball. There aren't many players that you can go to when you need a lob threat or without skipping a beat, hit a turnaround outside shot from deep to beat the clock with less than a second left to stop. He's got every skill you could ask for in an NBA player and competes at a very high level. While he might not get an All-Star nod this season, I wouldn't be surprised if he made the All-Star selection, considering he's the 2nd option of a team that's currently ranked 2nd That's right, second in the Western Conference. Chet is a real-life, unfair player who is just about impossible to guard, even for the average player in the NBA. He'll shoot over just about anyone, and in the instances where he can't, his handles will get him to the rim for an easy finish. While I'm heaping on the praises, the crazy thing about Holmgren is he's still not yet polished. This doesn't mean he's not as good. It just means that's how much better he can get. His ceiling is currently unknown, but for right now, he's averaging 18 points, 8 rebounds, 2.5 assists, 2.5 blocks, 1 steal, and 44% from distance. He's currently a top 40 player in the league without question. On the other hand, this year's first overall pick, by a wide margin, Victor Wembanyama is supposed to be everything I just said about Chet, but in a 7'3", 4 or 5 player with an 8-foot wingspan. How do you raise the bar when it's already attached to the ceiling? Victor is a unicorn among unicorns. It's unfathomable that a player at his size and length could possess the same guard skills, finesse, body control, and finishing ability of a player a foot shorter. Victor Wembanyama is currently the only player in the league with a higher shooting release point than Kevin Durant. Now go to your local gym, look up at the rim, and realize that if you were trying to guard Victor, you'd have to jump high enough to grab it, while floating sideways, with your arm further angled to avoid fouling, and being in the shooter's landing spot. Now try to do this after sprinting up and down the court 5 times. Never mind the timing you would need to achieve such a feat. At that point, most NBA players have no choice but to just let him shoot. The only chance an opponent has against Wembanyama is when he's not on the floor. Now earlier I said he's supposed to be everything Chet is, but inside an even bigger package. Now playing with a point guard has certainly impacted Vic's performance. The Spurs currently have Jeremy Sohan running point as an experiment this season. Their own words, not mine. This does 2 things. It gives the Spurs size to compete with the size revolution at the point guard spot, and it also gives Victor the ball in his hands a lot more. The obvious side effect, aside from tanking, is that this causes some difficulty in the Spurs creating much of an offense. As such, they're ranked 28th in the league in offensive rating, ahead of the Memphis Grizzlies without their point guard Ja Morant, and the Portland Trailblazers, who just lost their point guard in Damian Lillard and were missing his replacement Scoot Henderson, who was out with injury until recently. Despite this, Victor leads all rookies in points per game with 19. He's got 9.5 rebounds, 2.5 assists, 2.5 blocks, 1 steal, while shooting 43% from the field and a low 28% from distance. A legitimate point guard would improve his numbers immensely, but for now, the lack of a proper shot creator and distributor is forcing a tougher challenge on Victor for this rookie season. Whether this helps or hinders his development remains to be seen, but with Pop as his mentor and Tim Duncan in his corner, the Spurs are likely not planning for today, but tomorrow. So, with these 2 players remaining, I currently have Chet Holmgren at second and Victor Wembanyama leading in the Rookie of the Year race. Chet is slightly behind Victor in every category but efficiency. The Thunder are a much better overall team than the Spurs despite the young age of the players on both teams, but that team overall is an anomaly with SGA and Josh Giddey running point. Chet is surrounded by playmakers, and despite taking tough shots at times, there are legitimate scoring options outside of him on the Thunder. If Victor improves his 3-point field goal percentage, then his Rookie of the Year campaign is a lock. If Chet takes on a bigger scoring load and adds a few more rebounds or assists, then he could lock up the Rookie of the Year conversation. Neither task is simple, but it will be interesting to watch and see how this pans out over the rest of the season. As for Scoot Henderson, his first game back saw him come off the bench and give the Blazers an efficient 4 of 5 from the field and 3 of 4 from distance, totaling 13 points against the Bucks. He still has time, but for now, the top 5 is going to be even tougher. Let me know your top 5 rookies. Post them in the comments below, or if you agree with my take, post that too. Before that though, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to Swish Culture for more NBA content. And thanks for watching. Till next time. Swish!